two ATPs, here and here. After this begins the energy generation phase, where we actually produce energy in glycolysis. This second stage of glycolysis begins with the splitting of fructose 1,6-bisphosphate into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and dihydroxyacetone phosphate. So a 6-carbon fructose is split into two molecules which have 3 carbons each. You can easily remember their names by the mnemonic GAP and DAP. Now this reaction is reversible and it is catalyzed by the enzyme aldolase. Since the reverse reaction of this step, that is the combination of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and dihydroxyacetone phosphate, is a type of aldol condensation, this enzyme is known as aldolase. These compounds are isomers and can be readily converted into each other by an isomerase known as triose phosphate isomerase. Again, triose meaning it can act on sugars with 3 carbons only, and isomerase since it is converting one isomer into another. This interconversion is important as only glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate can proceed further with the reactions of glycolysis. So dihydroxyacetone phosphate is isomerized into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, which is on a direct pathway in glycolysis. This isomerization results in the net production of 2 molecules of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate from the cleavage of one molecule of fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. The preceding steps in glycolysis have transformed one molecule of glucose into 2 molecules of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. We now come to a series of steps that harvests some of the energy contained in glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. For the next reaction of glycolysis, we have the enzyme dehydrogenase, also known as glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase. And to understand this reaction, you have to dig a little bit deeper into its mechanism. Now, as you might know that dehydrogenases are enzymes that catalyze oxidation reduction reactions, meaning these enzymes remove hydrogen, that is why dehydrogenase, and removal of hydrogen is known as oxidation. The hydrogen that they remove must be passed on to some other molecule, and that molecule gets reduced. And that is how the dehydrogenases catalyze the oxidation reduction reactions. In this reaction, the enzyme glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase acts on glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and removes the hydrogen atoms from the carbon number 1 and 2, which are then transferred to NAD to make the NADH. Since water is also involved in this reaction, an OH group gets attached to the carbon number 1. Now this intermediate has high free energy and it is very unstable. It loses its excess free energy and the phosphate group gets attached to this intermediate, making it a stabler bisphosphate known as 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate. Because 2 phosphate groups are attached to it, now the new one being at the first carbon. So this is how the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate gets converted to 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate. Now coming back to the main pathway of glycolysis, we started with glucose, a 6-carbon compound, which is then converted to glucose 6-phosphate, which after a few reactions is converted to fructose 1,6-bisphosphate, still a 6-carbon compound. It is then cleaved into 2 molecules which are 3-carbon compounds GAP and DAP. Only GAP can proceed further with glycolysis, which is fine as the DAP can be easily isomerized to GAP by triose isomerase. So if you look at it carefully, we now have 2 molecules of GAP for every 1 molecule of glucose that we started with. GAP is acted upon by GAP dehydrogenase enzyme and converted into a bisphosphate known as 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate, which is a high energy molecule and is used in the next few reactions to derive some energy in the form of ATP. The conversion of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate to 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate uses a molecule of inorganic phosphate that is being attached to the carbon number 1. And this reaction is also very important in a sense that NAD is being converted to NADH. This NADH will be further used to make more ATPs in the electron transport chain. Now, since we have 2 molecules of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate for every 1 molecule of glucose that enters glycolysis, 2 NADs are actually being reduced here, which generate 2 NADH. And here you can see the second phosphate group that is being attached to the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate to make it a bisphosphoglycerate. In the next reaction, the high energy phosphate group that is attached to the carbon number 1 is used to make ATP. The enzyme that acts on this reaction is known as phosphoglycerate kinase. And as you know, kinases are enzymes that transfer phosphate groups from one molecule to another. Here, the phosphate group at the first position in the 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate gets transferred to a molecule of ADP, converting it into an ATP. The 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate is in turn converted to 3-phosphoglycerate, since the phosphate group at the first position is now lost. This is the first energy producing step that takes place in glycolysis, and it is also known as substrate level phosphorylation. See, basically we have 2 main ways to produce ATP in the body: through ionic gradients that happen in the electron transport chain in the mitochondria, or by using the energy that is present in the high energy bonds of different substrates, which is known as the substrate level phosphorylation. In the conversion of 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate to 3-phosphoglycerate, the high energy bond between the carbon number 1 and the phosphate group is broken, and that energy is used to convert ADP into an ATP, which is an example of substrate level phosphorylation. Here you should also note that 2 ATPs are produced per molecule of glucose in this reaction, since 1 molecule of glucose was split into 2 earlier in glycolysis. After this, we are left with 3-phosphoglycerate, which has only 1 high energy phosphate group attached now. In the next 2 steps of glycolysis, the 3-phosphoglycerate gets converted to 2-phosphoglycerate and then to phosphoenol pyruvate. This phosphoenol pyruvate then loses its high energy phosphate group, which is then used to make another ATP by attaching that phosphate group to ADP. This phosphoenol pyruvate then gets converted into pyruvate. The enzyme which converts 3-phosphoglycerate to 2-phosphoglycerate is a mutase, more particularly known as the phosphoglycerate mutase. And after that, we have the enzyme enolase that acts on 2-phosphoglycerate to convert it into phosphoenol pyruvate. After this step, the enzyme pyruvate kinase acts on phosphoenol pyruvate to convert it into pyruvate. The phosphate group on the phosphoenol pyruvate is removed and used to convert an ADP to ATP. In this step also, you can note that 2 ATPs are produced, as one glucose was earlier split into 2 molecules of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So we are basically done with the complex part of glycolytic pathway. Now you need to know just a few more things to understand glycolysis completely. So you need to know how fructose and galactose are used in this pathway. You also need to know how this pathway is regulated, meaning how hormones and other factors can increase or decrease the rate of glycolysis in different ways. How ATP is generated from NADH, and the last thing you need to know is the fate of pyruvate. So this is the summary reaction of glycolysis. Glucose plus 2 molecules of inorganic phosphate plus 2 NADs plus 2 ADPs give 2 molecules of pyruvate, 2 molecules of NADH, 2 hydrogen ions, 2 molecules of water, and 2 ATPs. Now some of you may find this reaction easy to understand, but if you're like me and hate chemistry as much, let me decode this reaction for you. On the left hand side of this reaction is the input. You can take these things like the raw materials that we are using in glycolysis. We begin with 1 molecule of glucose which gets split into 2 molecules of pyruvate. That is why the prefix 2 is attached to all other substrates used in this reaction. We use 2 inorganic phosphate molecules in this pathway. They are used in the step when glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is converted to 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate. You may be confused that only one phosphate is being used here, but please remember that we are essentially getting 2 molecules of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate for every 1 molecule of glucose that enters the pathway of glycolysis. 2 NADs are used in this reaction which accept hydrogen and get reduced to NADH, which is subsequently used in the electron transport chain to make more ATPs. 2 hydrogen ions are produced here in this oxidation reduction reaction. 2 ADPs are converted to make 2 ATPs. These 2 molecules of water are produced in the dehydration reaction of 2-phosphoglycerate to phosphoenol pyruvate, and this gives us the final reaction of glycolysis. Now if you look at how much energy is derived from glycolysis, you can first note that glycolysis consists of an energy expenditure phase and an energy producing phase. In the first phase we use 2 ATPs. 1 ATP is used here to convert glucose into glucose 6-phosphate, and the next one is used here in the conversion of fructose 6-phosphate to fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. So till now we are in a -2 balance for ATPs. In the energy generation phase, how much ATPs are produced actually depend upon whether oxygen is available or not. Let's first suppose oxygen is not available. In this case, there are only 2 sites of energy generation in this pathway. One site is here when 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate is converted to 3-phosphoglycerate, and one site is here when phosphoenol pyruvate is converted into pyruvate. Both these are examples of substrate level phosphorylation that we discussed earlier. Now since we started with one molecule of glucose which was split into two, the number of ATPs produced in this reaction are actually 4 ATPs per molecule of glucose. So if oxygen is not available, we use 2 ATPs here and produce 4 ATPs here. So net ATP gain is only 2 ATPs. Now what happens if oxygen is available in glycolysis? Oxygen has no direct role in this pathway of glycolysis, but has a very important role indirectly, and that is here in this reaction. Here, as you can remember, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is converted into 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate. The enzyme making it possible is the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase, which removes hydrogen from glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and attaches it to NAD to make it NADH. But the thing is that there is only a limited amount of NAD in the cell. So NADH has to be reconverted to NAD again. And this takes place in the electron